In this video, we're going to look at installing Windows Server 2012 Enterprise Edition on VMware esxi 5.1 using Vcenter. So first, I've got my host already configured here, and if you notice in our data center we already have one cluster set up with 3 hosts, and we have several virtual machines running on it. I'm going to close out of the cluster, and I've got a single host set up, and this is a Sun Fire X4100 server. It has 16 gig of RAM, 4 2.592 processors. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new virtual machine. We're going to right click on the host, new virtual machine. The wizard's going to pop up and ask us if we want typical or custom configuration. I'm going to select custom. Where do you want to save the machine? And the name of it. So we're going to call this one 2012 Demo 1. And now it's asking for the data store. Currently I have 2 esxi data stores attached. Those are called SAN2 and Cluster 1-4 terabyte. I'm going to save this one that we're creating right now on data store 1, which is local storage. And you can tell the access to this is single host, so only this host, which would be 10.3.117, has access to it. Next, we're going to use virtual machine version 8, which is the latest, and this will run on version esxi 5.0 and later, and we're using a 5.1 environment. We're going to select our operating system. We're going to choose Server 2012 64-bit and click Next. We're going to choose the number of virtual sockets and cores per socket. You could select 2. 2 would be the recommended option. I'm going to go ahead and select 4 to provide the server all the performance. And now we're going to select the memory. The host, as you can tell, maximum recommended for best performance is 16 gig. The default recommended is 4 gig. And the minimum you should use on Server 2012 would be 512. I couldn't imagine using only 512 on it. It would be very slow. So for this one we're going to put 8 gig. And now it's asking us, what network do you want this to be connected to? I've left it as the default. We're going to have one NIC, and it's going to be on our VM network, and the adapter type is E1000E. We're going to use LSI Logic SAS. We're going to create a new virtual disk, and I always then provision my disk. It's going to be stored with the virtual machine. The disk size is going to be 40 gig, which will be plenty for our demonstration. Choose Next, choose Next again, and we're going to edit the virtual machine settings just to take a look at all of the features we added here. So it's adding 8 gig of RAM, 4 CPUs, the default video card with 1 display. We have the 1 hard disk, the 40 gig thin provision. We have the 1 NIC that's connected to the VM network. You could also specify the MAC address here. We have 1 SCSI controller, no floppy disk, and the CD drive, we're going to use it as a virtual client. Now we're going to go ahead and click Finish. Alright, so as you can see down here in the bottom, it's creating the virtual machine, and that configuration now shows up here. So now we're going to start the virtual machine by going to Power, Power On. And we're going to also open the console by right-clicking Open Console. Right, the console opens, and by default it's going to try to boot to the network. We're going to choose the disconnect the CD/DVD drive of the virtual machine. And I'm going to use the Windows Server 2012 64-bit DVD that was downloaded from TechNet. Here's the volume label of the disk. Any 2012 non-R2 CD will work with VMware 5.1. If you use 2012 R2 on 5.1, it will not boot. So we're going to go ahead and click Attach the disk. Connect to ISO image on local disk, and I've actually have this file, it's copied to a solid state drive on the D drive. And there's the disk. We're going to tell it open. And if we click up here, we can see the green check that it is connected. Sometimes I've noticed in the past that VMware client has trouble connecting to the disk sometimes. I'm not sure if that's due to a timeout or if it's just a programming error. I've seen it in several different situations, and the most common fix for that is just to close out of the Vcenter client completely, log back in, and then attach the media again. So as you can see here, we're loading the files. Okay, and we're presented with the setup screen for Server 2012. I'm just going to quickly go through this here. And you'll be prompted to enter the product key. Depending on the product key you enter, this will allow you to install whichever version of 2012 that you purchased or that you are demoing. If you do not have a product key for Server 2012, you can download an evaluation from Microsoft, and this will give you a free product key to evaluate for 180 days. Just visit the site here. I'll copy it in the blog. If you sign in, then you can get a key to activate. Alright, so I've went ahead and entered my product key, and it was for Server 2012 Data Center. And I'm going to choose the installation server with a GUI. We're going to click Next, and next we'll be prompted for the partition layout. After we accept the license terms, and we're going to choose Custom, since we don't have Windows installed on this machine before, and we're going to click Next on the drive. Windows is going to go through the setup wizard to install and copy the files. Okay, so we're almost finished here. The virtual machine restarted, and we're being presented with the Windows screen here. The machine's going to restart one more time. Okay, so after a couple of restarts, we're presented with the settings screen that's asking for our administrator password. Okay, so now we're presented with the Control-Delete screen to log in. We're going to go ahead and press VM, guest, send Control-Delete, type our password that we created. And the next thing you'll want to do is install the VMware guest tools. So to do this, what you'll do is go to VM, guest, install upgrade VMware tools. And let's just read this real quick while Windows is loading. Installing VMware tools package will greatly enhance graphics and mouse performance in your virtual machine. So instead of pressing Control-Alt when you want to release the cursor from the virtual machine window, you can move out of the window just like any other program. So here in a second we're going to be prompted to install the VMware tools. If the installer doesn't automatically come up, you can click on the folder down here, browse to computer, select the D drive, and open up the 64 setup folder, and you'll be presented with the installer here. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and click next. And we're going to select the complete installation, click next, and then install. This will take a couple of minutes depending on the resources available on your server. Okay, finally the installer will finish. You can click on finished. The server will ask to reboot, and we're going to tell it yes. And this concludes setting up a Server 2012 virtual machine on VMware esxi 5.1.